June 22nd, 1941, 3:45 in the morning, the eastern edge of Europe near the Bug River, just outside Brest. The night air still holds a damp chill when the first sound breaks it. Not thunder, not wind, artillery, a low, rolling pressure that seems to push the darkness itself backward. Searchlights snap on. Bridges flash white for a heartbeat, then disappear under smoke. On the western bank, German soldiers tighten their grips on rifles slick with dew. Boots shift. Someone coughs. Watches glow faint green in the dark. The invasion has a name, but no one says it out loud. They do not need to. Everyone here knows why they crossed the river. In a staff car farther back, Captain Ernst Keller checks his papers under a hooded lamp. He is not a frontline man. He works for intelligence, attached to an army headquarters that believes it understands what lies ahead. His briefcase is thick with estimates, charts, neat columns of numbers. Factories destroyed. Many. Rail hubs captured. Inevitable. Enemy recovery time. Long. Keller smooths the pages with his palm. He has seen these numbers for months. They have been argued over in Berlin, refined, initialed, stamped. They say the same thing in different ways. The Soviet Union is big, yes, but it is brittle. Hit it hard, hit it fast, and it will collapse under its own weight. As dawn approaches, the eastern horizon begins to glow. German guns fire again and again. The river vanishes behind spray and smoke. On the far side, Soviet defenders scramble from bunkers and half-dug trenches. Some are still pulling on boots, some never get the chance. The first hours go exactly as planned. Columns roll east. Tanks churn up roads that were dirt yesterday and mud the moment the sun touches them. Villages burn. Telephone lines droop and die. Prisoners are herded west, hands raised, faces gray with shock. Reports stream back to headquarters. Soviet units shattered. Airfields overrun. Entire formations caught asleep. Keller listens as officers read them aloud. The room smells of coffee, sweat, and cigarette smoke. A map covers one wall, its surface already crowded with colored pins. Red pins pulled out. Blue arrows pushed forward. "This is it," someone says quietly. Keller does not reply, but he feels it too. A sense of inevitability. The numbers are becoming real. The enemy is exactly what the estimates predicted. Unprepared, slow, clumsy. By the end of the first week, the damage is staggering. Thousands of Soviet aircraft destroyed, many still parked wing to wing. Entire armored units abandoned for lack of fuel or orders. Cities taken in days, sometimes hours. In Minsk, smoke rises so thick it blots out the sun. In Smolensk, rail yards are wrecked beyond quick repair. In Kiev, warehouses burn for days. German intelligence tallies it all. Factories lost in the western regions. Steel plants, tractor works, tank assembly halls, machine tool workshops, places marked on pre-war maps as the heart of Soviet industry. Keller studies aerial photographs laid across a long table, roofs collapsed, walls punched open, machinery twisted and blackened. He feels a quiet satisfaction. Without these places, how will the enemy fight? "What's left?" an officer asks, tapping the map. "Once we take this?" Keller answers without hesitation. "Not enough." It seems obvious. Industry cannot simply move, not on this scale, not under fire. You cannot pack up blast furnaces and rolling mills like crates of ammunition. You cannot uproot tens of thousands of workers and drop them somewhere empty and expect production to resume. That takes years, maybe decades. At least, that is what Keller believes. That is what his training tells him. What German planners have always assumed. Far to the east, beyond the reach of German bombers, beyond the last solid railheads shown on Keller's maps, a very different scene is unfolding. In a factory yard outside Kharkov, machines are being unbolted from concrete floors. Not carefully, quickly. Sparks fly as torches cut through mounting brackets. Cranes groan. Men shout over one another. Anna Morozova wipes grease from her hands with a rag that was once white. She is a milling machine operator, trained before the war to make tractor parts. Now she works day and night, pulling her machine apart piece by piece. No one has explained everything to her. There is no grand speech, only an order posted on a board and repeated by supervisors who look as exhausted as everyone else. Evacuate. Immediately. Rail cars wait beyond the gate. Flat cars, box cars. Some still smell of grain, others of coal. Anything that can roll, rolls. Anything that can be lifted is lifted. Children carry tools too small for adult hands. Old men guide cranes with trembling arms. Someone plays music on a battered radio until the signal cuts out. The air raid siren sounds once, then again. No one runs. There's nowhere to run to. Instead, they work faster. A lathe crashes onto a flat car, its gears still oily. A stamping press is dragged across the yard on logs, inch by inch. Drawings are bundled, ledgers thrown into crates. Someone grabs a potted plant from an office windowsill and laughs. A short, sharp sound that surprises even her. Anna climbs into a boxcar with her machine parts. She does not know where the train is going. East, she is told. Past the Volga. Past the mountains. Somewhere safe. She sits on the floor as the train jolts into motion, listening to metal rattle against metal. Outside, the factory shrinks, then disappears behind smoke. Back in German headquarters, none of this appears in the reports. Keller receives summaries from reconnaissance flights and intercepted messages. They show chaos, retreat, confusion. Trains heading east, yes, but refugees, troops, looted goods, not factories. Scorched earth, an analyst says, pointing to a photo of burning buildings. They're destroying what they can't carry. Keller nods. That fits the model. A defeated enemy, lashing out, leaving nothing useful behind. Weeks pass. Summer deepens. The advance slows, but not enough to alarm anyone. Distance is blamed. Roads, weather. The enemy is already beaten. It is only a matter of time. One afternoon, Keller receives a memo stamped urgent. It lists Soviet tank losses. The number is enormous. Destroyed, captured, abandoned. He exhales slowly. No army can survive that. He writes a note in the margin of his folder. Enemy armored production neutralized. He believes it. Somewhere beyond the Ural Mountains, the first evacuated train screeches to a halt in a place that barely deserves a name, a stretch of open ground, a few wooden buildings, snow, even though it is still summer. Anna steps down onto dirt that crunches under her boots. There is no factory here, only stakes driven into the ground and chalk marks on frozen earth. A man with a clipboard shouts instructions. Power lines will go here, foundations there, machines unloaded first, housing later. Someone asks when the roof will be built. The man does not answer. German intelligence does not see the chalk marks, does not hear the hammers, does not count the hands lifting steel into place. By autumn, Keller will begin to notice something he cannot quite explain. Reports of new tanks, not many at first, then more. Different models, fresh paint. For now, in June of 1941, he closes his briefcase with a soft click and allows himself a rare smile. The enemy, he thinks, has already lost the war. October 1941 arrives without ceremony, no announcement, just cold mornings that sting the lungs and turn breath into pale ghosts. Rain becomes sleet. Roads that once slowed German columns now stop them entirely. Captain Ernst Keller stands inside a commandeered schoolhouse near Smolensk, his boots drying beside a stove that never quite warms the room. The walls still show faded arithmetic tables. Someone has chalked unit movements over them as if numbers alone can force order onto distance. A runner delivers the morning summaries. Keller flips through them, page by page, expecting more of the same. Enemy resistance collapsing. Supply shortages reported. Armor losses remain severe. Then he pauses. A single line catches his eye. Enemy armored units encountered. New production suspected. Suspected, not confirmed. Keller frowns and reads it again. He checks the date. Yesterday. How many? He asks the officer nearby. The officer shrugs. A battalion, maybe. Hard to say. They didn't behave like leftovers. Leftovers. That is the word Keller would have used himself. The remains of a broken force, scraping together whatever still runs. But this note feels different. He turns to the attached field report. The description is brief, but precise. Tanks advancing in formation, coordinated with infantry, engines running clean, no signs of long-term neglect. These aren't abandoned machines brought back to life, the report concludes. They appear newly issued. Keller leans back, chair creaking. Newly issued? From where? He pushes the thought aside. One unit proves nothing. War is full of anomalies. A hidden stockpile. A pre-war reserve finally uncovered. Still, he circles the line in pencil. Far to the east, winter has already taken hold. Beyond the Ural Mountains, the sun rises late and weak, barely climbing above the horizon before sinking again. Snow drifts pile against half-built walls. Wind slices through gaps where windows will someday be. Inside one of those unfinished buildings, Anna Morozova's fingers ache as she adjusts a cutting tool. Her machine stands bolted to a floor poured barely weeks ago. The concrete is still curing. It smells sharp and damp. There is no proper roof yet. Canvas sheets hang overhead, flapping softly. Snow sifts through seams and melts on warm metal. Again, a supervisor calls. One more pass. The machine hums. The sound is uneven, rough, but alive. It cuts steel meant for tank components, not tractors anymore. That changed without discussion. Anna feeds the metal through, eyes stinging from cold and exhaustion. She has not seen Kharkov since summer. She does not know if her old factory still stands. She does not ask. Trains arrive day and night. Some bring coal, others bring steel slabs still warm from distant furnaces. Others bring people, families wrapped in layers, carrying everything they own in sacks. Barracks go up after the machines, kitchens after that, schools last. Someone nails a sign above the entrance, painted by hand. Factory number 1, 83. Numbers instead of names. Easy to move, easy to hide. The first completed tank hull rolls out of the assembly bay in early December. There is no ceremony, no flags. The engine coughs, then steadies. Workers gather anyway, stamping their feet against the cold, watching it move under its own power. Anna wipes frost from her eyelashes and feels something tighten in her chest. Not pride, exactly. Relief. It works. West of Moscow, the first snow turns the battlefield white. German troops wrap scarves around their faces and curse the cold. Engines fail overnight. Oil thickens. Fingers lose feeling. Keller studies new maps. The blue arrows have slowed to cautious pushes. Red pins, once disappearing, now sometimes stay in place. Sometimes multiply. Reports arrive of Soviet counterattacks. Small at first, then larger. Fresh divisions, one officer says. From Siberia, they think. Keller nods. He has heard this explanation. Reserves from the east, trained for cold. It makes sense. Then the armor reports arrive. Tank engagements, increasing frequency, loss ratios shifting. These numbers are wrong, Keller says quietly, tapping a page. They don't add up. The officer across from him hesitates. They come from multiple fronts, sir. Keller spreads the pages out. He adds figures in the margins. Losses inflicted, losses taken. He checks them twice. Even accounting for exaggeration, something is off. The Soviets are losing tanks, many tanks, but they keep appearing. Where are they getting them? Keller asks, more to himself than anyone else. No one answers. In Berlin, analysts argue over charts late into the night. Some suggest pre-war overproduction hidden from view. Others claim captured factories were not as critical as believed. One voice, quieter than the rest, suggests relocation. Relocation? Someone scoffs. Of what? Entire industries? The idea is dismissed almost immediately. It sounds like fantasy. The distances involved alone make it absurd. Thousands of kilometers. Limited rail capacity. Under constant attack. Impossible. Back in the snowbound factory east of the Urals, Anna collapses onto her bunk after a 16-hour shift. Her boots freeze by the door. Her hair smells of oil and smoke. She closes her eyes as the building creaks and settles. The walls are thin. She hears voices, laughter, someone coughing. Somewhere, a harmonica plays a slow, uncertain tune. In the morning, the siren sounds. Not an air raid, a shift change. By January, the production line stabilizes. Machines run smoother. Workers learn shortcuts. Mistakes drop. Output rises. Crates are stamped and loaded. Flat cars again, this time heading west. Each train carries a piece of the answer Keller is searching for. In February 1942, Keller receives a consolidated intelligence summary from the front. Enemy tank production estimates revised upward. He reads the number once. Then again. It is higher than the last estimate. Much higher. Revise it back, an officer suggests. Clearly inflated. Keller shakes his head slowly. No, they've been revising it down for months, and the tanks keep coming. He looks out the frost-covered window toward the east. Toward a distance, his maps still treat as empty space. For the first time since the invasion began, uncertainty settles in his chest. Not panic, not yet, but doubt. March 1942, Army Group Center. A rail siding buried in snow somewhere west of Vyazma. Captain Ernst Keller stands beside the tracks, breath fogging the air as a captured Soviet tank is unloaded from a flat car. Its paint is chipped, but the engine block is clean. The tracks are worn evenly. This machine did not spend months abandoned in a field. A mechanic jumps down, slaps his gloves together. It ran, he says, until we drained the fuel. Keller circles the tank slowly. He runs a finger along a weld seam. Fresh, too fresh. This one was built recently, the mechanic adds. You can smell it? Keller does not smile. Back inside a heated railcar converted into an office, Keller spreads out production charts. He has redrawn them himself, erasing earlier assumptions. The original models predicted a sharp decline in Soviet output, a collapse curve. Instead, the line dips, then climbs. Every correction pushes it higher. His pencil snaps. Vogel exhales. Assumptions are not facts. No, Keller replies, but they are supposed to rest on facts. He gestures at the tank outside. We captured or destroyed most of their western factories. We know that. We saw them burn. So where are they coming from? Vogel asks. Keller does not answer right away. He has begun to suspect the truth, but saying it aloud feels dangerous, like naming a storm. They moved them, Keller says finally. Not some of them, most of them. Vogel snorts. Moved? Entire factories? Yes. Across half a continent? Yes. Vogel straightens. That's madness. Madness, Keller agrees softly. And yet... He taps the chart again. The line does not care what seems sane. In a drafty planning room farther west, another German officer, Oberleutnant Hans Richter, listens as intelligence officers debate the same problem. Richter commands a panzer company. He is not interested in theory. He wants to know why his crews are facing enemy tanks that should not exist. They don't break like the old ones, Richter says. Not the crews, not the machines. Someone suggests desperation. Another suggests propaganda. Richter shakes his head. Desperate men don't attack like that. East of the Urals, the factory numbers multiply. Factory 183 is joined by Factory 112, then 375. Numbers assigned, reassigned, reused. Names stripped away. Anna Morozova no longer works only at her machine. She trains new arrivals now, showing them how to listen to the pitch of the cut, how to feel vibration through gloves. They will rush you, she tells them. Ignore the shouting, do it right. A broken part at the front kills someone you'll never meet. No one argues. The production hall has walls now, a real roof. Steam pipes snake overhead. The cold still finds its way in, but the machines run steadily. Each week, output climbs. The workers stop counting days and start counting tanks. Westward, the Red Army begins to change shape. German reports describe enemy units that are better equipped, more coordinated. Losses remain heavy, but replacements arrive faster than expected. In April, Keller sends a memo marked urgent. Evidence suggests large-scale industrial relocation east of the Ural Mountains. Enemy production capacity underestimated. The reply comes days later. Assessment noted. Current strategic outlook unchanged. Keller stares at the words until the paper blurs. Unchanged. He feels something close to anger, not at the reply itself, but at the comfort behind it, the desire to believe the war is still following the old script. By summer, the front heats again. Dust replaces snow. Engines roar. In a briefing near Kursk, Richter points to a map. We expect armor here, he says, more than last year. Someone laughs. They're scraping the bottom of the barrel. Richter does not laugh back. When the battle comes, it is unlike anything he has seen. Tanks and waves. Not endless, but steady. Losses on both sides. Smoke and flame and noise that never seems to stop. Richter's company knocks out several enemy machines. Then more appear, and more. By nightfall, his crews are exhausted, hands shaking, ears ringing. They count wrecks by silhouette against burning fields. This can't continue, a gunner mutters. They'll run out. They do not. Behind the scenes, trains never stop. From the Urals, from Siberia, from places Keller's early maps labeled with nothing at all, flat cars roll west under camouflage nets. Schedules are ruthless, delays punished, accidents buried. Anna watches another train depart, steam hissing, wheels shrieking as it picks up speed. She thinks of the men who will climb into those tanks. She does not imagine faces. In Berlin, production graphs finally cross a line no one can ignore. Soviet output surpasses German output. Not in quality, not in comfort, in quantity. Keller is summoned home in August. He rides a night train, staring out at darkness, replaying months of reports in his mind. He feels older than when he left. At headquarters, he stands before men who still speak in certainties. They can't sustain this, one says. They already are, Keller replies. Silence follows. He lays out photographs, intercepted orders, captured machines. He explains the relocation, the scale, the speed. When he finishes, no one applauds, no one argues. One man finally asks, "Can we stop it?" Keller thinks of Anna's factory, of the chalk lines on frozen ground, of machines bolted down before roofs were built. No, he says, not from where we are. November 1942 arrives with a bitter wind sweeping across the steppe near Stalingrad. The city is a ruin of brick dust and twisted steel, but the sound of engines still cuts through the cold. Not German engines, Soviet ones. Oberleutnant Hans Richter hears them before he sees them, a low, steady rumble. Familiar now, too familiar. They're coming again, his loader says, voice flat with exhaustion. Richter peers through his binoculars. Shapes emerge from smoke and frost. Tanks, not relics, not patched-together survivors. Clean silhouettes, straight lines, moving with purpose. How many? Someone asks. Richter lowers the binoculars slowly. Enough. He does not say more. Numbers no longer matter the way they once did. What matters is that when one wave burns, another follows, and another. In the chaos of Stalingrad, the truth finally becomes undeniable. German formations are not being worn down by a collapsing enemy. They are being ground against an opponent that can replace losses faster than expected. Faster than planned for, faster than prepared for. Back in Berlin, Captain Ernst Keller sits alone in his office long after dark. Snow taps against the window like fingers. A single lamp casts long shadows across his desk. He opens a folder marked Industrial Estimates, Eastern Regions. Inside are maps that look almost obscene in hindsight. Empty spaces labeled with vague notes, sparse rail lines. Minimal capacity. He takes a pencil and begins marking it again. Dots, lines, arrows. Places that once meant nothing now bristle with activity. Factories beyond bombing range, beyond easy reach. Powered by coal and labor pulled from a population that has learned brutally what happens if production stops. Keller realizes something then, quietly, without drama. Germany is not fighting the Red Army alone. It is fighting time, distance, and an industrial system that has learned how to survive catastrophe. East of the Urals, Anna Morozova no longer remembers the sound of silence. The factory runs, day and night, shifts blur. New buildings rise while old ones expand. Production targets are posted, crossed out, raised. She is older now, thinner, stronger in ways she never expected. One evening, she stands on a loading platform as snow falls in thick, lazy flakes. Another train departs west. She does not watch it leave this time. There will be another tomorrow. A young worker beside her asks, "Do you think it will end soon?" Anna thinks of the first days, of the chaos, of the belief that nothing like this could ever work. "I think," she says carefully, "it already has." In early 1943, German intelligence produces its final comprehensive estimate. Soviet tank production is not declining. It is accelerating. The figures are staggering, not because each machine is perfect, but because there are so many of them. Enough to absorb losses that would cripple any other army. Enough to change the shape of the war. At the front, Richter's unit receives replacements. Fewer than before, older vehicles. Crews rushed through training. Across the line, Soviet units arrive with full complements. New tanks, new guns. Crews that know they are not irreplaceable, but their machines are. Richter survives Stalingrad, barely. When he is pulled back, he tells a staff officer something that sounds like defeat, but is simply fact. They will outlast us. The officer does not argue. Keller submits his last report on the subject in the spring. It is longer than any he has written, less certain, more honest. He writes not just about factories, but about adaptation, about a system that, once pushed to the edge, redefined what was possible. He knows it will change a little. Decisions now move under their own momentum. But he writes it anyway. Summer 1943. The fields near Kursk ripple under heat and dust, broken by scars where metal has burned into the earth. The air vibrates constantly, engines, artillery movement without pause. Oberleutnant Hans Richter stands beside his tank before dawn, helmet resting on the turret. He listens. The sound he hears is not surprising anymore. It is expected. Across the lines, Soviet engines warm in the dark. When the battle begins, it feels less like an attack and more like pressure. Relentless, steady, patient. Tanks advance, halt, fire, withdraw, return. Losses mount on both sides, but the rhythm never breaks. Richter's gunner knocks out one tank, then another. A third brews up, smoke clawing into the sky. Then more appear. By midday, Richter understands something that no briefing ever said aloud. This is not about tactics anymore. It is about endurance. Far from the battlefield, beyond forests and rivers and rail junctions marked and remarked on maps, the factories keep working. Anna Morozova no longer counts tanks. She counts hours. The pace is no longer frantic. It is methodical, optimized. The chaos of evacuation has hardened into routine. Machines are replaced when they fail. Workers rotate. Output is tracked to the decimal. The system has learned. When news of Kursk reaches the factory, there is no cheering, only a brief tightening of effort, a reminder of why the machines must not stop. In Berlin, Captain Ernst Keller packs his office. He has been reassigned. His reports now sit in files labeled historical reference. He pauses over one chart, the one he first redrew when the numbers stopped making sense. He leaves it on the desk. Someone else will read it someday. Or not. By 1944, the outcome is no longer hidden behind projections or estimates. German units retreat along roads clogged with refugees and wrecks. Fuel is rationed. Steel is scarce. Across the lines, Soviet formations advance with depth behind them. Losses hurt, they always have, but replacements arrive. Not by miracle, by rail, by labor, by factories built where no factory was supposed to exist. Anna hears the war is nearing Germany's borders. She wonders what Kharkov looks like now. She wonders if she will ever see it again. She wipes her hands on a rag and steps back to her machine. There is still work to do. Years later, historians will argue over decisions, doctrines, commanders. They will debate tanks and tactics and mistakes. But beneath it all lies something simpler. German intelligence did not fail because it lacked information. It failed because it could not imagine a society willing and able to move its industrial heart thousands of miles, rebuild it in snow and emptiness, and run it harder than before. They dismissed one factory, then another, then 100. And the tanks kept coming.